Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Um, I wasn't sure if I should make this video or not. You'll see as I talk about, well, what I'm going to talk about. But my thinking in doing that, in talking about it, is that maybe it can help somebody else who's gone through a similar situation. Um, For people that are new here, you probably haven't heard my story, like my background story about my personal life growing up. If you are a regular subscriber here, if you're someone that's followed me for a while, you probably know I've talked a lot about my childhood, things that have happened to me as a young girl. For people who are new though and maybe aren't aware, I'll just give you a brief rundown. Um, and it's informed some of like the things that I talk about on the channel. You'll see me making videos about narcissism and toxic and abusive behavior and addiction and things like that. And there's a reason for that. When I was a young girl, I grew up in South Florida, West Palm Beach, um, and I was raised by like a single mother. My mother has like several, I guess you could say, several mental illnesses. She's bipolar. Um, she is an alcoholic. And so growing up in that environment was very chaotic and it was abusive. My mother threw me out when I was 17 years old. She stole my identity at the same time. I remember coming home. I worked as a hostess at a I worked as a hostess at a seafood restaurant, and um, like she would always get drunk and wouldn't pick me up from work, and I'd get stuck waiting there until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd have to get a ride home from like one of the waiters, and then get up for school the next day. So it was like one of those nights though where like she passed out and didn't pick me up. That's what I was thinking. So I had to wait to get somebody to drive me home. One of the girls, Jen, drove me to my house, and we get there, like we're pulling up, and I can see all of this stuff in the street, and I'm like, oh, what the heck is that doing in front of the house? And it was like stacks of my things. Like, as we pulled up to the house, I could see, oh shit, this is all my stuff. Like, these are my clothes. And the other thing was that you could tell that it had been picked through. That, like, people, I don't, it's South Florida, so, okay, even though that was like a nice street. It's not like the way that South Florida is, like there's a nice area, but bad areas are like right next door to it, is right close to it. So someone had already picked through my things, including my underwear. So anyways, I um I punched so we had back up a little bit. So I saw my things out there and I'm like, what the heck? I was so mad, and it was late at night. I knocked on the door. She was not answering, was probably passed out drunk. So around back we had these like French glass doors. So they had these little window panes and stuff. And I like took one of the shirts, kind of wrapped it around my hand and punched my hand into the window to reach in and unlock the door to let myself in. I still have like these scars on my hand from the glass from that window pane that I had to punch through. But anyways, I go in and I get like this, I had this little like suitcase, the kind on wheels, they're not that big. It's like this and like this size. So like I took the suitcase and I went out into the street and I just like grabbed the things that, a handful of clothes that would fit in there. And I couldn't take any of the rest of the stuff. I didn't have any room and I didn't have a place to go. So I had to like call um one of the people who I had worked with, the bartender of the restaurant. She had a place that was very close. It was like walking distance to the restaurant. So I asked if can I stay with you? And I stayed on her couch. And that's like where I ended up staying for a while. But like, I remember the first like night, the second night there, just trying to like fall asleep and just being overcome with this anxiety of like, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going to go? I ended up having to drop out of high school. So I do not even have a high school diploma. I have a GED. I had to drop out of high school. I had to go from being a hostess to a waitress. Luckily, the restaurant people, the people that managed it were really nice and they were really cool. So they let me go through training really quickly. They put me right out on the floor. They allowed me to work doubles so I could start making some money, because you don't make much as a hostess. The real money there was like waiting tables. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. The point though is that that's just one thing that she did to me. So, anyways, like, she has been her entire life like a narcissist and a crazy person. And her alcoholism has gotten worse. So I cut her out of my life a long time ago because I just can't allow her, I can't be around her. Like, she doesn't respect boundaries. If you say something like, do not call me after 9 p.m., that's not asking a lot, but she won't do it. She'll purposely call late at night. She'll leave long, rambling messages. She will threaten to send the cops to your house. She'll threaten to sue you. Just like all of this crazy stuff. So I've cut her out of my life. You guys know, I haven't talked to her in a while because of all the things that she did to me and her refusal to respect boundaries and be respectful to me. So, I guess her drinking has progressed and has gotten even worse. And I think it's gotten to the point where she has like wet brain, which I think is like permanent brain damage from alcoholism, from continued alcoholism over like many years. So I think that has made her mental illnesses worse. So I guess, to make a long story short, I suppose that what she had, her entire life is just like constant craziness, constant chaos. And I guess she ended up, you know, she was living in this neighborhood, and she ended up getting drunk one night, and she was outside like trying to get her dog or something. Like, she has these stupid little dogs, and the dog had fallen down like into a ditch or into a puddle or something. And I guess she was drunk and she goes to try to get the dog, and like she fell in and got hurt. And so she decided she was going to sue the landlord and try to say that, like, oh, it was the landlord's fault that she fell, not because she was drunk as a skunk, right? So she tried that, and she thought that they were going to settle with her and like give her money or something. So obviously, long story short, that isn't what happened. They countersued her, and she had to file for bankruptcy. And she's not supposed to be living there. Like, she's not allowed to live in like gated community anymore or something. And yeah, so now she's supposed to be like behaving herself, rebuilding her credit or whatever. And I guess she didn't have a place to stay after that. So I don't remember what the story is. Like, she stayed at a hotel or something, but she got one of her guy friends, this poor bastard. She found a sucker, and she got him to get a house and put it in her name, or like rent a house and put it in his name. I'm sorry, not her name, but like she would stay there. So she gets somebody to put like a house in their name on her behalf. And I didn't know that this was in the same place that she's not supposed to be living. So she's already like, you know, that's questionable. You tried to sue these people, they sued you. you're not supposed to be living there, and then for some reason you decide to go back. Like, why would you do that? And to have somebody put it in their name. So she's jeopardizing not herself, but that person. She's putting that person in danger, and I don't even know if they know that she's not supposed to be living there. So anyways, to make a long story short, she is drunk and she believes that her neighbor has stolen her Christmas lights or something. I don't know where she comes up with these conspiracies, but like, she saw that the neighbors had blue lights on a palm tree, and she felt that like the neighbor's wife, or the woman, the neighbor, it's a couple, she thought the woman was like taunting her and like stole her Christmas lights and was purposely trying to mess with her. I don't know why she would think that. So she vandalized their property, their yard. Like, she vandalized the property. And I guess she was drunk when she did this. I assume she thought she was going to get away with it, because why wouldn't she? I mean, that's how she thinks. That like the grandiosity, like, oh, I can, like, I'm above the law and I'm above like everybody else. I can do what I want without consequence, type of thing. So, she was evidently caught on camera by the neighbors, and she got arrested. And she told the police officer that she was drunk. So, she has a court date coming up, and she is most likely going to have to go to AA. I know that she is going to have to pay, like, it's going to cost her thousands of dollars, because she has to pay to, I guess, fix the property damage or something. But yeah, so she is just like, of course that would happen to her. And then I'm thinking, well, if she has to go to court to deal with this, at some point, like, the people who own that community, like the landlord or whoever the property management company is that owns it, they're gonna find out she's living there again. She's gonna get in a lot of trouble. She might get sued by them again. I just, like, I don't even know what to say about it. And then, so the latest thing after that is she goes to the hospital, because she's always going to the hospital. This is part of the, like, attention seeking, narcissistic behavior, attempting to get, like, not just attention, but like sympathy from others, to make other people feel bad for her. And so she goes to the hospital, and then claims that someone tried to drug her. That's the latest conspiracy. And I just think about this stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say. You can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves. And she has done this my entire life. She makes up weird stories about me. She tells people I'm dead because I don't, like, talk to her, because of her own behavior. Like, all she would have to do is just respect my wishes and my boundaries, and then I wouldn't have a problem. I have forgiven her for all of the horrific things she did to me as a child. But, that won't happen. Her ego prevents her from doing that. And she just has no, self-awareness, and never takes any kind of accountability or responsibility for her behavior. It's always everybody else. Everyone's out to get her. And she is a compulsive liar, a manipulator, and I just don't want to be around that. I would like to see her get help, though, because the alcoholism is really bad. I mean, she already has a lot of health problems. She has, I think she has, like, kidney problems or something like that, or whatever. I don't know. But obviously, like, this isn't helping her. So I'm thinking, maybe having to go to AA will help her. Although my other concern is that she's not going to go. I think that therapy would be very good for her, perhaps. And so then I sit here and part of me feels bad for her. I feel sorry for her and I'm like, oh, what can I do to help her? But the other part of me, and I hate to say it, but I'm sure maybe if you guys have dealt with somebody like this, a um, grandiose narcissist that has done really awful things to you and never apologized and never admitted what happened and never, acknowledged it. Yeah, part of me, it just kind of like laughs at this. It to me, it's like, oh, more of you getting what you deserve, and I feel bad about that. um so I don't know, like, part of me thinks it's kind of funny. Part of me is sad for her, and I do pray for her, but I mean, I just don't have any, I guess I don't have any more sympathy for her because she's had so many chances. Like, she's had so many times where she could have had a nice life, but she just pushed every single person away. And she won't get help. She won't change her behavior. She's never gonna change. And I don't know. I don't know. She said really like awful things to me when I was a child. She told me that like no one would ever love me. She called me all kinds of horrible names and made me feel really bad about myself. And, just there were a lot of other things too that I'm not going to get into in this. You can watch some of my other videos where I talk about that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like, so I guess what I'm struggling with is like, do I try to reach out to her? Do I try to say something? Do I try to help her or not? Do I continue to have her cut off? Because, like, as a Christian, it's like, oh, you're supposed to take care of your parents, you're supposed to forgive people, blah, 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 blah. But then part of me is like, well, you can only do so much, and she's not going to change. If you allow her back into your life, she's going to do the same thing she's done before, and she'll disappoint you again. And don't give somebody another opportunity to do that to you. So anyways, I just thought I would tell you guys that story. Just share the story. I'm interested to know if any of you have a situation like that where you have a toxic person in your life, that is completely dysfunctional and has, traumatized and abused you like your whole life, and then, continues to just get worse and worse and worse and won't get help. How do you deal with that? If you guys have any comments or thoughts, let me know in the comments below. I just thought I'd share that with you guys just so you know what's going on, and so people can maybe learn something from that, or maybe it helps somebody just to know and hear that, like, they're not crazy, that somebody else has a similar situation or a similar thing happen to them, and that it's okay to, like, to not feel bad for somebody that has hurt you. It's okay to say, like, somebody did awful things to you and, like, wow, you wish them the best. Sometimes you run out of, like, sympathy. And I think that's okay. I think that response is normal. And I think it's justified. And so, yeah, um, you know, it literally never ends. It's always something. This is just 1 week in this is just 1 week in her life. Guys, it's like there's so much more, but anyways, I don't think anyone really cares to hear more about it. This is just all I wanted to get into. That's what I wanted to share about what's been going on in my personal life. That's something that has been weighing on me And I kind of wanted to talk about it just to kind of get it off, when it's really hard, but like when you've been abused by somebody, or when you were like, especially as a child and it's your parent, I used to have so much anger and like rage and hatred inside me about that, just about the things that she did to me, like throwing me out into the street like that, and then the things that happened to me after she did that, that I felt like were her fault. Like, why didn't she protect me? Like, why did she do that? Um, but I don't have those feelings anymore, because I also go back and like I look back and I recognize that it was a lot of those experiences that made me the person that I am today, and gave me the ability to have compassion and empathy for others, and to um it gives you like humility, right? When you're all the way at the bottom and you have nothing, you're living out of a suitcase and you're sleeping on a couch, like you're not judging other people and you're grateful for what little you do get, And when you see somebody else in a similar situation, instead of rushing to judge them, you're like, oh, I know how easy that can how quickly that can happen to people, how easily it can happen to people, how you might not be homeless because of you're mentally ill or you have a drug addiction, but literally because of life circumstances. And then how hard it is to dig yourself out of that hole, because once you're in it, it just piles up and piles up and piles up, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and you feel like you're dug in a hole that you'll never get out of. When I was in that position, when I was sleeping on that couch and I had to take sleeping pills to fall asleep because I'd have panic attacks of what's going to happen to me, where am I going to go, what am I going to do with my life, without a high school degree, you have these like very limiting, narrow thoughts, and you're in survival mode. You have no ability to like think on a different level. And it takes a lot of hard work just to get through each day, just to barely survive, and then to kind of slowly claw your way out of that. Add to it that she stole my identity, and she tried to get a mortgage in my name. She like ran up utility bills in my name. So when I finally did get to the point where I could have my own place and afford it, then I try to get like fucking Comcast and shit. And it's like, oh, you owe $800 and you never paid. And it's like, what? Then you go and look at your credit score and you're starting out at the bottom because of something like that, in addition to all the other hardship. And so it's just like, yeah. But it was those experiences, though. It was that I think made me strong and resilient. So I do not regret it. And it takes away any idea or notion of entitlement that is all too common in young people nowadays. All right. Hope everybody has a good night.